Everybody, welcome back to the Y.E.S. Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. I am Chris Board, owner of Y.E.S Fitness, and now the author of the #1 selling release, Get Stronger, Live Longer, The Expert's Guide to Strength Training for Longevity. And for those people who supported me by purchasing that book, I appreciate that support. If you do get to read it and you enjoy it, and if you want to jump onto Amazon again and give me a review on that book, that would be great. I'm looking for any kind of feedback on the book. If you want to get a hold of me, let me know. So it's a project, let me tell you. And it was quite exciting to be launching a book and having it get to the spot that it did as the #1 release of that day. Pretty exciting stuff. So let's take a look at some housekeeping today. There is no housekeeping today. Just got finished with Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know for most people, all the word I hear is quiet, right? Because we didn't get together with family and friends. We're trying to be safe. Trying not to spread this virus any more than it's already being spread. I know my Thanksgiving is very quiet. But as long as people are safe, that's really what's important. There'll be more Thanksgivings to have, right? And now we're heading into the crazy rush of the holiday season. So I have a special gift for each of you. If you want to take advantage of this is free. It's the 25 days of fitness. Get a fitness tip every day for the next 25 days. Those tips are going to help you get through the holidays. It can be tips on exercise. It might be tips on some nutrition, stress, sleep, hydration, mindset, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of tips. And just one tip a day. You get too much stuff, you get all 25 at once. You're not going to read them. You're not going to remember them. So that's why it's just a once a day thing. You'll see a link for it above the video today. Just click on that. Again, it's free. I am not trying to sell you anything. I just want to help you to be able to enjoy the holidays, because you know it's 2020. We're going to have some different challenges with 2020, challenges we've never faced before. So let's be ready for them. Let's overcome them, and let's be able to enjoy this holiday season. So what I'm talking about today is nutrition. Now, what is more confusing than nutrition? Nothing is more confusing than nutrition. We are bombarded with information constantly on nutrition. Whether we're reading books, magazines, newspaper articles. Yes, there are still newspapers out there. You've got celebrities, you've got social media, you've got gurus, all kinds of people telling you what you should do in nutrition. It gets very confusing. And it can be confusing for myself as well. So I'm going to give you an example today. And this has to do with longevity. You know, we're going to talk about longevity, eating for longevity. And that, again, a very unbalanced topic, but I'm going to give you my ideas on that as we go through this. So what we eat has the potential to either increase or decrease our lifespan. Makes sense, right? But aside from this essential truth, how to eat to be the best we can be, is really up for debate. So I just recently read this study. I mean, this thing is hot off the press. It's from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science of the United States. Sounds pretty fancy, right? So these researchers offered some new insight, plus they posed some new questions about nutrition. Their position is human mortality is largely influenced by a balance of macronutrients, and that the makeup of this balance should change across our lifespan. First, what are macronutrients? They're carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Those are macronutrients. They provide the body with energy, all the body needs to help maintain its structures and its systems. These are the building blocks of our meals, right? It's the food that we eat. So this study suggests macronutrient supplies, defined as a country's overall supply of macronutrient-rich foods, are a strong predictor of age-specific mortality. And this finding upheld even after researchers corrected for economic factors. So this is different from macronutrient intake. The absolute amount of specific macronutrients you eat is what is most important in influencing longevity. So this study claims that it's the availability of macronutrients that's a strong predictor of mortality patterns, And from there, showed how the ideal balance of supplies for maximum lifespan changes with age. Now, it only makes sense, a lot of times research has done it and it's kind of crazy stuff, but it just makes common sense. If where you live, if that country doesn't have a great food supply, you're going to have less macronutrients, and thus you're not going to probably live as long because you're not going to be as healthy as you can be. In those countries that have a plethora of nutrients available to their people, probably going to live a little bit longer. Kind of makes sense, right? So from there, the researchers are now interested in trying to nail down the discrepancy between supply and intake. What's the difference here, right? They feel that people need to get away from unidimensional thinking, like eating less fat or avoiding carbohydrates or being high protein. That is unidimensional, and that's something we need to try to get away from. Researchers believe that this study does get to the question of intake. Essentially, it demonstrates that critical not to take an all or nothing approach to a diet, which believe in that as well. I don't think you should be all or nothing as well. I think you need all three macronutrients. Research suggests that optimal diet composition to reduce mortality risk varies with age. So what they believe, number one, is the nutrients available to you are going to affect how long you live. Common sense there, right? But what they also believe in this study is that below the age of 25, mortality rates are closest when the total energy supply consists of 16% protein, 40 to 45% of both fats and carbohydrates. So they want to have about a 16% breakdown of your protein intake and about an equal breakdown of your your fats and your carbohydrates. But then later in life, if you're an individual is more than 55 years old, the balance should change to a total energy supply of 11% proteins, 67% carbohydrates, and 22% fats. So just to go over those numbers again with you. When we're younger, they think 16% protein and about equal balance, 40 to 45% of carbohydrates and fats. As we get older, now they want you to have less protein, about 11% protein, 67% from carbohydrates, and 22% fat. So a much bigger jump of carbohydrates. And they believe it is no longer best for survival for the percentage of fats and proteins to be equal. So they want to have that big gap. Now, this is completely contradicting to what we just talked about over the summer by Dr. Walter Longo, who is a top nutritionist in the country, research on longevity in his book, The Longevity Diet. He believes that if you're below age 65, your protein intake should be low, between 0.31 and 0.36 grams per kilogram of body weight. Pardon me. I know I can't get these words out. 0.31 to 0.36 grams per pound of body weight, not kilogram, per pound. So that comes to about 40 to 47 grams of protein per day for someone who weighs about 130 pounds, or about 60 to 70 grams of protein per day for someone who weighs about 200 to 220 pounds. If you're over age 65, he believed that you should slightly increase your protein intake by also increasing consumption of fish, eggs, white meat, and products derived from goats, sheep, to preserve your muscle mass. We know as we get older, the body does not metabolize protein as well. So this recent study says, hey, let's cut back protein, whereas Dr. Longo says, let's increase protein. And some other ways you want to increase some protein is through the consumption of beans, chickpeas, green peas, and other legumes. The RDA for protein is 0.36 grams per body weight. So Dr. Longo even recommends less than the RDA. Really confusing. And who's going to be going around trying to figure out, well, am I getting 9%? Am I getting 11%? Am I getting 0.31% of my body weight of protein? I mean, all these numbers jumping around, do they really help the average Joe who's out there trying to figure out what to eat and what not to eat. Pretty common sense what we should be eating. We should be eating all food groups, proteins, fats, good fats, okay, and carbohydrates, good carbohydrates. Carbohydrates gets that bad name all the time. Shouldn't be eating carbohydrate. Let's stay away from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are extremely important for your body. Your body needs carbohydrates. It needs that fuel. We need good carbohydrates. Your body needs fat. It especially needs the good fats. You want to stay away from saturated fats. And your body needs some protein. But the protein that we're trying to stay away from is animal protein, and especially red meat protein. What that does is it activates mTOR, which turns off our cells to defend against the aging process. So if you kind of take a look at the people that live the longest, what are they eating? They're eating a lot of fruits, eating a lot of vegetables, and they're eating fish. And occasionally they have some protein. I'm personally believe in that eating pattern. I don't believe that you should be decreasing your protein too much, especially as we get a little bit older, because we want to be able to maintain that muscle mass. We want to be able to not only live longer, but we want to be able to enjoy ourselves. Hey, if you don't have enough strength to get up and down the curb or up and down the stairs or get out of your chair, what sense does it make to live longer? So we want to have that protein into our diet. So that's, if I was to break it down, to simplify it for you, make sure we're getting plenty of protein, okay, from plant-based sources. Get some protein from eggs, get some protein from fish, eat plenty of vegetables, eat plenty of fruit, and you'll be all set. Make sure you're getting some good fats in there, get some avocados in there. That's what makes sense. To try to figure out all these studies, to try to figure out what's the best diet to do, what's the best diet not to do, try to figure out, well, this celebrity is doing that, but that celebrity is doing this, and this book says this, and that book says that, and this magazine article says this, does that. Let's just keep it simple. I'm giving you the recipe to eat, to live longer. Spice it how you'd like to spice it. Cook it how you'd like to cook it so it tastes good, but that's what you really need to do to live longer. Eat foods you're going to enjoy. Hey, we're only on this earth once. Let's enjoy ourselves while we're on this earth, and let's make sure that we have enough nutrients to be able to enjoy that. Because this study is really common sense. You're only going to be able to eat the nutrients that are in your area. And if if you're deficient in certain nutrients, and those nutrients are necessary to live longer, you're probably not going to live longer. Unless we're going to up and move to a different place, that's what we have to work with, right? And I'm not a believer in cutting your protein as you get a little bit older. I think you need to maintain your muscle mass. And from what I know and understand about the biology of the body, your body needs to doesn't utilize protein as well as we get older. So we want to make sure we're getting it throughout the day, sufficient amounts, and we should be able to maintain that muscle mass with a well-designed strength training program. So that's what I have for you today. Hopefully I simplified nutrition for you a little bit more. There's more studies coming out all the time. I'm keeping my eye on them all the time. When something comes up that I think you need to know, some reason why we need to change what we're doing, I'll let you know about it. So you can look for more information from me next Tuesday, just about the same time, where I'm going to give you some insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.